Is This a Great Game or What? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kirkshin. I'm his son, Jeff Kirkshin. And Dad, I'm just now returning from a trip to Boston, Massachusetts, where we celebrated my wife and her twin brother's early 30th birthday, in which I also, you see this shirt? What does that say? Uh-oh, Dad getting his glasses on.
Fenway Park, established 1912.
That's right, home of the Boston Red Sox. I bought a shirt because we took a Fenway Park tour while we were in town, Dad.
Well,
so cool.
You've already done that. How did Emily enjoy it?
Oh, loved it. Thought it was so cool. I mean, she has become such a baseball fan in the last couple years, and hearing the history of the game, the history of the Red Sox, of Fenway Park, and it's so interesting because she's never been to a ballpark that is that old, right? So, it's the oldest.
Jeff,
so
it opened the week that the Titanic sank. That's how old Fenway Park is.
Yeah, it's oldest park in Major League Baseball. Wrigley Field is next, and then they had a big trivia question, and our entire group, 8 of us, just kept looking at me every time there was a trivia question. What is the third oldest baseball park, which is
Dodger
Stadium,
yes,
right? So
good.
I was able to get that right. I didn't want to start stealing the tour guide's thunder here because I knew all of the big answers as to what was going on.
Well,
the red seat in right field. Ted Williams, of course. Like, I didn't want to steal his thunder, but they kept looking at me, asking me to raise my hand and try to answer the question. So I tried to keep a low profile, Dad, on the Fenway Park tour.
Well, I'm proud of you. What was her takeaway? What fascinated her most about the trip to the Fens?
Well, number one thing was they were setting up a stage for the Jonas Brothers concert that night. So the most fascinating thing at the moment for her was thinking that Kevin, Nick, and Joe would be at Fenway Park that evening. But other than that, we were sitting during the tour, we sat in seats that have been there, and I'm going to make sure I come close to the date. Like, the seats have been there since 1934. The same original wooden seats.
Yeah.
Which was unbelievable to think of your dad, my grandfather, growing up in Watertown, Massachusetts, absolutely sitting in those seats as a high schooler. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy. That place is so old. And so what did she think of the Green Monster? She must have said something. Because remember Jerry.
Way bigger than she thought it was.
Right.
And we went up and were on the monster seats, which was really cool. And she kind of said, oh, if we ever went to a game, we got to sit up here. And I said, everybody wants to sit on the monster seats. They're the most coveted seats in Major League Baseball, arguably.
Right.
She loved it. And we found out why they built the monster. Do you know why they built the Green Monster?
Yes, Jeff. They had such a small amount of room in which to build the stadium that they had to shoehorn it into the land. And the only way to do that was to keep left field really close to home plate. And in order to do that, they built a 37-foot high wall.
Well, and here's the detail the tour guide gave us too, Dad, that it wasn't originally a monster, right? It's not 37 feet tall the whole time. They actually built it taller, the owner did, because there used to be a car dealership across the street. And home runs were regularly hit over the then 10-foot wall and crashing into vehicles. And then the owner had to pay for the repair of the vehicles. He said, I can't pay for these vehicles anymore. So they built the wall up so nobody could hit it over.
Right. But Mark McGwire, I've told you this story before, Jeff, famously during the height of his career, hit a ball over the wall and it smashed the windshield of a car and went right into the guy's front seat. Okay. Now, the kicker to the story, he hit it off of Zane Smith, by the way, but the kicker is that the guy had locked his keys in the car. This is like late 90s. So we don't have all these gadgets now to open up your car from the car dealership. He was trapped without his car keys. And then Mark McGwire hit a home run that broke his windshield and he was able to retrieve his car keys. And then he brought the ball somehow to Mark McGwire, who signed it something to the effect of, "I'm glad I could save your car keys," or something like that. I mean, that actually happened. Like, it can't happen, but it's true. Jeff, the wall, I'll never forget Jerry Fraley, Hall of Fame baseball writer, went there for the first time in 1986. And we're standing on the field at Fenway Park before a World Series game. He'd never been there. And he looked at me in these typical frails and said, "Do they take that thing down when the game starts?" That's what that's how close left field is there. And Jeff, I'm going to tell you a story that I've never told publicly, but this is wildly self-serving, but I'm going to tell it anyway. 1986, I'm covering the Orioles for the Baltimore Sun. And Earl Weaver, the famous great manager, irascible Earl Weaver, the Mickey Rooney lookalike Earl Weaver, says to me, he says, "You think you could throw a ball off the left field wall at Fenway Park?" Now, we're standing in the on-deck circle, so I'm not even throwing it from home plate. But Earl starts yelling at me, "You cover the team. You think you know everything." He's half joking with me. He goes, "Do you think you could throw a ball off the left field wall from right here?" So I have to take him up on it. And I said, "Yes, I think I can throw a baseball off the left field wall from the on-deck circle," which was closer to, left field wall is 309 feet away. I don't even think it's that long, technically. So the next day, I had to put my money where my mouth was. Now, keep in mind, Jeff, I got challenged on this by Earl Weaver, the Hall of Fame manager. So he was late to the ballpark the next day. So Cal Ripken Sr., Cal Jr.'s dad, was therefore put in charge of this challenge, and I threw a ball off the left field wall from the on-deck circle, which was roughly a throw of, I want to say, 285 to 90 feet. And I hit the wall, and Earl got there like 20 minutes later and said, because we bet some ridiculously low amount of money, and he looks at Senior and goes, "Well, what happened?" And Cal Senior looks at Earl and goes, "The kid did it." And it was really, I'm not sure what to make of this story. I can't believe I'm going to tell this story publicly for the first time in 40 years. But
Wow.
Larry Sheets, whose son Gavin Sheets plays for the Padres now, Larry hears about this bet and he goes, "You're not actually going to try to throw it off the wall, are you?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think I can do it." I said, "You don't think I can do it?" He goes, "You can't do it. I can't do it." And he said, "If I can't do it, you can't do it." Well, of course, Larry Sheets can throw a baseball farther than I can. But Jeff, I could still throw a baseball at age 68. I threw it off the wall from the on-deck circle, and Earl Weaver had to pay off a loss. And Cal Ripken was the umpire in this situation to determine if I hit the wall in the air or not. And I did.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. How high up the wall? Not that it matters. Did it go? Do you remember?
There's padding there, Jeff, that goes up about, I would say, 8 feet or something to protect the outfielders. I threw it above the padding.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure I threw a baseball 300 feet in the air, which I already knew I could do that because I'd done it before. So it wasn't like I was taking on something that I had no idea what I was doing. So that's my incredibly terrible self-serving story about Fenway Park. And this is the first time I've ever told this to anyone.
Dad, I'll tell you this much. You have a podcast now. It's okay to tell stories about yourself. This was one of the biggest things we had to get over when we first started the podcast. This isn't just a baseball podcast. In fact, Dad, now we even say to friends and people who listen, this is a father-son podcast about baseball, right? The thing that comes first is father and son. And nothing, and I mean nothing, is more relatable than when you are challenged with an athletic competition or a bet. You have to try. You have to try it. Absolutely.
I didn't just get challenged, Jeff. I got challenged by Earl Weaver, who told me you have no chance to do this.
No chance.
No chance. So I won the bet.
So you did it.
All right.
All right. Well, Dad, let's jump into Major League Baseball. Tell us, what are your takeaways of what's been going on the last couple days?
All right, just a few things, Jeff. Cal Raleigh hit homers 48 and 49. Okay, same game. So now he has more multi-homer games, 9, than anybody in the history of the Seattle Mariners, including Ken Griffey Jr., in one season. He has the most homers, 49, of any primary catcher passing Salvador Perez of the Royals. Okay, the only switch hitter who has more homers in a season is Mickey Mantle, who had a 54 and a 52 homer season, and Cal Raleigh may wipe all of that out. So we've been talking about this all year, Jeff, and there on Sunday, 2 more homers. He did it. It's incredible, and he's on his way potentially to winning the MVP. But Jeff, I've been asked a whole bunch of times, is this the greatest season ever by a catcher? And I'm sorry, I'm just not ready to go there yet. Okay. Johnny Bench in 1972 won the MVP and had a WAR that is significantly higher than Cal Raleigh's, although Cal Raleigh hasn't finished with the season yet. Okay. And
Right.
Mike Piazza had a WAR in 1977 that is significantly higher than Cal Raleigh's. But again, he's not done yet. OPS plus, Jeff, is a real reminder and a real interesting statistic. Johnny Bench's OPS plus in 1972 was 166, which is essentially what Cal Raleigh's is right now. And Mike Piazza's in 1997 was 185. So I'm still not ready to call this the greatest season ever by a catcher, but it's in the conversation, and it might be if he has a great final 5 weeks.
I love the big dumper. I mean, it's hard to take down Aaron Judge when you're batting 324, right? He's having a heck of a season with 40 home runs himself, but we'll see how it shakes out. So you're voting for the NL MVP. So no one can get mad at you if one or the other wins the AL MVP, because it's not up to you. Right.
And you got to be careful. You can't be telling everyone who you're going to vote for, because that defeats the purpose of a secret ballot. And we it comes out in the middle of November, not at the end of September. Okay.
Right.
Justin Verlander struck out, now has 3,515 strikeouts, and he passed who on the all-time strikeout list? Remember who you're talking to here, Jeff.
Well, I mean, it has to be proud alum of Walter Johnson High School, Tim Kirkshin, talking about Walter Johnson.
Who we try to get into every episode of Is This a Great Game or What? And we're pretty darn close to doing that. Yes. And again, there's no comparing the eras, Jeff. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's almost apples and oranges. But Justin Verlander has 26 complete games in his career. Walter Johnson completed 26 or more games in 11 consecutive seasons. So 11 straight years, he had as many or more complete games as Justin Verlander has had in his career. Not a criticism of Justin Verlander. This is the game that we play today, but the durability of Walter Johnson needs to be recognized. And with his next shutout, Justin Verlander will have 10. Okay, in his career. Walter Johnson has 110. So with his next shutout, he will draw within 100 shutouts of Walter Johnson.
I have a feeling he won't pass him for shutouts or complete games in his career. It's just not going to happen.
Also, speaking of complete games, Jeff, I checked today. 13 teams do not have a complete game this year. So almost half the teams in the major leagues do not have a complete game. The record is 13 teams without a complete game set in 2022. So if the 13 teams that don't have one, if there are no more complete games, we will tie a major league record. This speaks to a much bigger issue. What are we going to do about getting the complete game back in the game? I don't see it coming back anytime soon. I just found it interesting that we have tied a record right now. And maybe if somebody completes a game, we won't keep the tying of the record.
Yeah, this is relevant because, you mentioned how many teams don't have a complete game yet. We're coming to the end of the season, and tell me I'm wrong. Is September and October the greatest months when it comes to all things sports. You've got the beginning of the college football season this weekend. You've got the NFL. You've got baseball, race for pennants, and then the playoffs.
Right.
September and October. And then, I mean, just selfishly, I'm not a summer guy, so I love fall weather. So, like, it's just so perfect.
Right. And basketball, the NBA starts.
Yep.
At least, and hockey starts in September. And we have the Ryder Cup this year. I mean, it's going to be an absolutely fabulous month. And October is my favorite because it's baseball playoffs. It's great.
And speaking of the Ryder Cup, we should probably tease we're going to have Tiger Woods on the podcast. I'm just kidding. Dream guest.
Not a chance.
We've only talked about Tiger Woods almost as much as we've talked about Walter Johnson on this podcast.
We have a better chance of getting Walter Johnson than we do getting Tiger Woods. And Walter Johnson died in 1946. Okay. All right, Jeff. Last thing, the Brewers had a tribute to Bob Uecker on Sunday, and it was just beautifully done. We love Bob Uecker. Anytime we get a chance to talk about him, we should. So, Jeff, 1998, I want to say, I made a speech at the Brewers midwinter banquet, and Bob Uecker was the MC. And he was the funniest MC in the history of MCs. He absolutely just winged the whole thing, didn't have anything written down, made everybody laugh from start to finish. And I made I was the guest speaker that night, which was very nice. But the story behind that, Jeff, is it was taking place in January, and I'm flying out of Washington, Dulles, and I'm thinking, it's snowing like crazy. There is zero chance this plane is going to take off. So you know how scared I am about being late to the airport. I said, all right, I know this flight's going to be canceled, but I got to go to the airport anyway because I'm making a speech there. I got to be there the night before. So I get to the airport finally after battling my way through the snow. I get to the gate and I say to them, are you telling me this flight is still on? And they said yes. And that flight took off, Jeff, from Washington, Dulles to Milwaukee. And I am not making this up. I was the only person on the flight. And I mean, this crazy. Is 30 rows. There must have been 120 seats, maybe more on this airplane. But I said to the stewardess, I said, the several stewardesses, because there were 4 more stews than there were me on the plane, 4-1. I said, why are we taking off if only one person is going? And she said, well, we have to be there tomorrow to bring people back. So the crew has to go. So I was the only person on the plane. I got unlimited snacks and I got an entire can of Diet Coke because I was the only person on the plane.
Did they, when you boarded, and you weren't an elite member, and then a premium member, boarding group 1,
it was
boarding group 2.
No, it was. There were no groups. It was boarding 1 because that's quite literally what it was. Boarding 1 person. That was me.
Boarding Tim Kirkshin. Kirkshin board the plane.
Right.
But they didn't tell you, like, sir, sorry, you booked the aisle, not the window. Can you please go into your seat?
They told me, thankfully, you can sit wherever you want. So only person on a gigantic airplane. All right.
That's funny. All right, Dad, what do you have for the Quirkins right now?
Well, a listener named Todd Addington got me curious about something. Nathan Church of the Cardinals. Todd wrote to me and he said Nathan Church scored a run, drove in a run, and stole a base before he got his first major league hit. He goes, sounds odd to me. When's the last time it happened? Well, I couldn't. So I called Frank at the Elias, and as it turns out, as always, Jeff, none of these things are as odd as you think because baseball provides oddities all the time. So Pete Crow Armstrong in the MVP race in the National League 2023 did the same thing. He get this, he went 0 for 14, but scored 3 runs, drove in a run, and stole 2 bases before he got a hit. So the answer, Todd, to your very curious thank you question is Pete Crow Armstrong in 2023, and he went 14 at-bats without getting a hit, but had all sorts of runs, RBIs, and stolen bases.
I forgot that we gave you access to greatgamerwhat.com if people wanted to ask questions to you. So I emailed Frank this question from Todd, and he emailed me back, "Sorry, Jeff, your dad already asked me the same question." So now I'm 0 for 2 on questions I've asked Frank from the Elias.
All right, Jeff. All right. Speaking of the Cubs, no balks for the Cubs this year. 0 balks. Okay. Balk is a relatively rare thing, but and the last time a team went through a whole season without a balk was the Mariners in 2022 and the Rangers in 2021. So it's less unusual than I thought it would be. What I didn't know, Jeff, was I looked up the most balks ever by a single pitcher in baseball history, and Steve Carlton, the greatest pitcher in the history of the Philadelphia Phillies, had 90 balks in his career, and second most is Bob Welch with 45. So he had twice as many balks as the next guy on the list. And Steve Carlton, of course, was left-handed, Jeff. He had a good pick-off move. So a lot of times when, he stepped to the plate instead of stepping straight to first, he got called a balk. 90 balks. Bob Welch second, 49. I was surprised to see that. Also, Jeff, through Sunday, the Cardinals, who used to run the bases like crazy in the crazy 80s, they have 5 triples the whole year. 5 triples the whole year. That's a low total. The last team to play 100 or more games in a season and finish with 5 or fewer triples were the Blue Jays in 2017. So there are 16 individual players with at least 5 triples this year, led by 16 from Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks. So, and it serves and Jeff, the all-time record for triples in a season is 36 by Owen Wilson in 1912. Now, Jeff, Owen Wilson, meet the parents, is an actor, of course, and that inspired me, which we'll do in a few minutes on Is This a Great Game or What? The all actor / baseball team. So you got about 20 minutes to come up with your list. I've already got mine made, and there's some fun names on the list, to say the least. Led by Owen Wilson, one of our 3 outfielders.
And Dad, Owen Wilson is the voice of Lightning McQueen in the movie Cars.
Right, which I watched this morning with Carson Keenahan because he's sick, home from school on Monday, and I had to sit with him till Mommy came home. And so, yes, we were listening to Owen Wilson. Right. So, Jeff, we had some really cool names this week. We had Braxton Fulford of the Rockies faced Braxton Ashcraft of the Rockies. So that's the first time a Braxton faced a Braxton in Major League history. The pitchers of record the other night for the A's and the Mariners were Tyler Ferguson and Caleb Ferguson. First time ever that 2 guys whose last name is Ferguson were the pitchers of record in the same game. And one that was pointed out by many of our listeners who are very clever, Jeff. I'm so impressed. We had the Jack Dreyer pitch for the Dodgers against Gavin Sheets. So we had the Dreyer Sheets. In fact,
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. It's not the first time this year they faced each other. We recognized this before, but every time it happens, I think we need to do a shout out for the Dreyer Sheets or Sheets Dreyer at bat.
I mean, that could be an October matchup too.
Yes.
So we got to keep an eye on that for a playoff Dreyer Sheets.
Right.
Which, Dad, if you and I were to go head to head on a playoff washing of clothes, I think you'd take me down. You are one heck of a laundry man. You do not mess around in a laundry room.
Jeff, I like to do the laundry. Not that I enjoy it. I just hate the thought. It's like old dishes it's like dirty dishes in the sink. Got to get rid of them. And it's like dirty clothes sitting all over the house. Can't do it. Get rid of them. Let's wash them, fold them, and put them back.
I love doing the dishes. Love it so much. I love loading a dishwasher. Don't love unloading a dishwasher, and it ends up being my job in the mornings before I go to work, so I'm unloading a dishwasher at 4:15. Have you ever tried to unload a dishwasher in a kitchen that sits beneath a nursery for a baby? That should be an Olympic sport.
No, Jeff, Dad,
I have to do one plate at a time.
Jeff,
you know how normally you would take two plates, maybe with one hand, and they kind of clang, and then you put them in, then two plates, right? Nope, it's one, because I don't want to make too much noise and wake anybody up.
Jeff, I taught you to be as quiet as a butler, and you're very good at it. So you do work around the house without waking up everybody in the house.
Yeah, and the only thing is I do have very loud footsteps. Have you ever been accused of having a loud footstep?
137 pounds this morning, Jeff. No loud footsteps for me.
Good for you.
Walk
Good
on
for
my
you,
toes.
I'm like an elephant over there.
Yeah, 7.5 shoe, 137 pounds. I don't make much noise. I'm really, really nifty on my feet.
On this date in baseball history, Dad, what do you have for us?
All right, 1987, Paul Molitor's 39-game hitting streak ended. It's one of the longest hitting streaks in Major League history. Paul Molitor was a great hitter that year. And the streak ended at home against the Indians, and the Brewers won 1-0 in 10 innings. Rick Manning came up and pinch hit in the game and drove in the winning run, got the walk-off single to win the game with Paul Molitor in the on-deck circle at County Stadium. And Rick Manning told me this later, but I remember when it happened, he got booed in his own stadium because he hit a walk-off single and prevented Paul Molitor from getting another at-bat that could have potentially extended his 39-game hitting streak. So Rick Manning, one of the great funny guys and a great defensive center fielder, number 28 in his prime. He jokingly told me, I'm the only guy who's ever been booed for getting a walk-off single to win a game.
Dad, I have on this date in baseball history. It was actually yesterday, August the 25th. This was sent in by Greg Kelly. On this date, August 25th, 1976, Bill Freehan hit his 200th career home run.
Right, which is his total of his career.
Yeah, and he hit 100 at home and 100 on the road.
Isn't that tremendous, Jeff?
That's
beautiful coincidence. Now, let's see how well you remember the Bill Freehan note I had last week about 1968.
Oh, gosh, and I remember, and that's why it piqued my, oh, gosh.
All right, who won the MVP in the American League in 1968? He won 31 games for the Detroit Tigers. Denny McLain.
Oh, and they are the only pitcher-catcher
to finish 1-2 in the MVP voting. How great is that? Bill Freehan, I told you, very underrated player. 200 homers. I did not know. I knew he had 200. I didn't know 100 home, 100 road. So good.
We love to see that.
Okay, Jeff, on this date last year, where Danny Jansen became the first player ever to play for two teams in the same game. Played for the Blue Jays, game was suspended, joined the Red Sox, so he appeared in the box score for both teams. First time that had ever happened in Major League history. He was very funny talking about that, how many phone calls he's gotten.
Right.
And if the first thing he did is look at the schedule and said, oh my gosh, I got a chance to do this. Do you remember who we called last year and talked about this? Remember, we called Joel Youngblood on the phone. Joel Youngblood's claim to fame was what, Jeff? He got a hit.
Oh, he got a hit in two different teams on the same day.
Right.
Because he was traded and he was in the air.
He was in the air. He had to take 3 cab rides to get to Montreal on time. When he got there at 9:05, 10 minutes later, 10 minutes after arriving in the locker room, they put him in a game and he got a hit. And remember what Joel Youngblood said, kind of kidding. He said, that guy's trying to break my record. He didn't break my record. No one's ever going to do what I did. No one will ever do what I did again. And he kind of joked, but he was pretty serious that no one's going to get 2 hits for 2 different teams in 2 different states in the same day. That's what Joel Youngblood did. Also, Jeff, birthdays, 1985, David Price was born. I still get a kick out of David Price, former Cy Young winner, very good Major League pitcher, long time. Had a dog named Astro. which I just thought was the funniest thing. So typical, I love dogs' names. I said, David, what's the deal with your dog? Astro, what's that from? He goes, the Jetsons. What else? I said, David, you're way too young to know what the Jetsons are. I grew up watching the Jetsons cartoon in the 60s. I know who Rastro is and all that. He goes, I love the Jetsons. I watch it all the time. So here we had a baseball player born in 1985 who named his dog after Astro from the Jetsons. Do you find that interesting at all?
I love it. But I mean, I thought he was going down the theme of what my dogs have been. My first dog was Pirate. My first dog, my wife and I got Pirate, and now we have a Ranger after we lost Pirate. So I already told my wife we're going to have to keep up the theme with whatever dog we get next. And at the rate of likability that Ranger has in our household, that could be coming sooner rather than later.
All right. Now, Jeff, this is so interesting you would bring that up. Guess who was born 10 years on this date after David Price was born?
My dog Pirate? No, I'm just kidding. Who?
Ranger Suarez.
Oh, no way!
Today is his birthday. So Emily's favorite player, Ranger Suarez, that you named Ranger your dog after, was born on this date in 1995.
Yeah, it's funny. She loves Ranger Suarez. It's ultimately why we named our dog Ranger. And she saw a clip on social media, Dad, of a Philadelphia sports talk show saying, I don't know if Ranger has it for, a full season. He starts hot and then he ends up getting cold. Will he be able to do this for a full year kind of thing? And she basically said to me, don't let them talk bad about my guy. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Ranger Suarez. Love it. That's great. All right. So those are the this date in baseball history, Jeff, for August the 26th.
Well, before we get to our Team Tim, Dad, which I know you're really excited for with the actors Team Tim, all-actor team.
Owen Wilson, right.
A la Owen Wilson.
Right.
We should quickly bring up that tomorrow on the podcast, we'll have Adnan Virk back for the second time he's appeared on this show. He's got a new book out. It's Cinephile. And, he is not only great with MLB Network and so many other things. That guy is so busy. He does a great job. Former co-worker with my dad at ESPN, but he's also a movie buff. He's interviewed some of the biggest names, including Robert De Niro, which we get to talk to him about that experience and so much more. So,
Jeff, he is so far beyond a movie buff. I'm not sure I have ever quoted a movie line, and I tell you how terrible I am at things, and it's all true. But I'm decent at some of the movies that I love. I can remember important, funny lines from them, but I have never thrown a line at Adnan where A, he didn't know what I was talking about, or B, he couldn't figure out what the next line was. He is a genius when it comes to movies and everything that goes with it. I don't know how he does it, but he's a great guest. He was on last year with us. He made us laugh so hard, and he's going to make us laugh again tomorrow.
All right, Dad, let's hear your Team Tim a la Owen Wilson, the all-actors team.
Okay, so Will Smith, of course, is our catcher. And remember, a few years ago in the World Series, we had Will Smith facing Will Smith. The other Will Smith is the relief pitcher, Will Smith. So, Jeff, this happened to me. I went to Braves camp several years ago, and it was the night after, or the morning after, Will Smith slapped somebody. Who did he slap?
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Slapped Chris Rock in the face at the Oscars. Was it at the Oscars or the Emmys? Oscars.
No,
right?
Oscars. You're right.
So the next morning, I'm in the Braves clubhouse, and I'm talking to Will Smith, like the relief pitcher, Will Smith. And I finish with all my work in the clubhouse, and I go to do Buster's podcast, and his first question out of the box was, what'd you think of the Will Smith situation? And I said, boy, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I just got done talking to him. Well, he meant the slap on the face of Chris Rock, and I didn't even know about it because I didn't stay up late enough to watch the Oscars. I didn't check anything on Twitter, so I thought he was talking about the left-handed pitcher Will Smith of the Braves. Instead, he was talking about the actor who slapped another actor. So Will Smith is the catcher.
That's a great start to a team right there.
Yeah. and that's the best one. All right, we're not getting any better. It's all downhill from here. Anthony Rizzo is the first baseman. The actor Anthony Rizzo appeared in the movie, among others, Heartbreak Ridge, so that's good. The first player ever to hit 4 home runs in a major league game is Bobby Lowe, but his nickname is, his real first name is Robert, so we're going to call him Rob Lowe. I know it's a stretch, but that's okay. Our third baseman is Russ Johnson. He goes by Russ Johnson, and Russell Johnson, so we're taking the liberty here, played the Professor Roy Hinckley on Gilligan's Island. Okay.
Yes.
Again, Jeff, I've told you repeatedly, I know 3 things in the world: baseball, basketball, and sitcom from the 60s. So Roy Hinckley is the name of the professor on Gilligan's Island, and his real name is Russell Johnson. And
so
by
perfect.
the way, Jeff, little known fact, the professor, who was a genius, went to 4 different colleges in his career. This was said on one episode of Gilligan's Island. He went to UCLA, USC, SMU, and TCU. How about that?
That's incredible. That's
Only
so great.
I would remember something that stupid. Shortstop is Jimmy Stewart, famous actor.
Obviously,
Jimmy Stewart,
yeah.
Of course. Owen Wilson is one of our outfielders. Samuel Jackson played 1871 and 72. That's about all I know about him, but Samuel Jackson,
so good,
right?
Legend, one of the greatest.
And Eddie Murphy played for a World Series championship team in the outfield in 1913, the Philadelphia A's. Mike Myers was a relief pitcher and a pretty good one. I see Mike every once in a while. And of course, Mike, what's your favorite Mike Myers role, Jeff? Is it
Austin Powers?
By far, right?
Well, and it's tough because he also Shrek. He was the voice of Shrek, and that's one of the most legendary animated films ever.
Right. And Mike Myers, unbelievably talented guy, yes. And Eddie Fisher, who was an actor back when Nen and Pop were growing up, he was also not the same guy, a relief pitcher, a pitcher for the White Sox. So that's my whole team: Will Smith, Anthony Rizzo, Bobby Lowe, Russ Johnson, Jimmy Stewart, Owen Wilson, Samuel Jackson, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, and Eddie Fisher. I did that in one morning, Jeff.
That's pretty good. You had told me that you were working on it, Dad, and to me that kind of made me a little nervous because you said you did it this morning, but I'm actually very impressed. Very impressed.
I had to take some shortcuts here with Bobby Lowe and with Russ Johnson, but anytime you can get the Professor Roy Hinckley on the show, that would be good. By the way, Mary Ann Saunders, Ginger Grant, Jonas Grumby was the skipper, and Gilligan just went by Gilligan, no last name. And Thurston Howell and Lovey Howell were also on the show, of course. And the famous story there, Jeff, which I've told you before, Carol O'Connor really wanted to be the skipper on Gilligan's Island and did not get the part. Alan Hale did.
Wow.
And then the next big part for Carol O'Connor was Archie Bunker, one of the great sitcom characters in the history, and maybe the most important sitcom character ever, given the controversial role that he played.
So, Dad, there's one I want to add here.
Yes, please.
A small role, but also a Hollywood director, the aforementioned David Price, whose birthday, he was on Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Very good, Jeff. I had him down here, and I just thought I should have put it in there, but I saw that today. In my research, I saw it.
Very small actor, very small role.
Jeff, there are no small actors, no small roles. That's the way I always look at it. Isn't that what you used to teach me when you were doing parts in high school and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, listen, any role I played was small because all my characters were the goofy, short little guy on Nicely Johnson, total goofball, right? Like, I played small characters.
Right.
They were big roles, but small characters. Thanks for that.
Okay, so that's my all-actor baseball team.
Adnan Virk joins the podcast tomorrow. Dad, cannot wait for this one, and I hope everybody who's a member of the family is excited too. Go to greatgamerwhat.com. Dad finally has access to the website, so he can respond to you directly, as will I. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, thanks for being a part of our family.